Hello, GW, and welcome to this week's top headlines. I'm Emmanuelle Dyer-Melhado. Georgia's gubernatorial race is heating up with former Republican Senator David Perdue and previous Democratic nominee Stacey Abrams making their official bids for office. Perdue announced his campaign on Twitter, stating he's running to, quote, make sure Stacey Abrams is never governor of Georgia. To secure the Republican nomination, Perdue will go up against the incumbent governor, Brian Kemp, and the ex-Democratic state representative, Vernon Jones, who crossed party lines in 2020 after endorsing the re-election of Donald Trump. Abrams is currently running unopposed for the Democratic nomination. After narrowly losing the previous gubernatorial race in 2018, Abrams has risen into prominence in the Democratic Party as a voting rights activist and founder of Fair Fight Action, an organization to address voter suppression, which was a major concern during the 2018 race. With the election taking place next November, Democrats and Republicans have a long road ahead. As of Monday, December 6th, the Biden administration is officially suing the Lone Star State over election map redistricting. The lawsuit alleges that state lawmakers approved new congressional districts that discriminate against voters from minority communities. The concern is that the newly drawn districts will take away power from these voters. In the past 10 years, Texas has added 2 additional seats to Congress because of its population growth. 95% of this growth has come from Latino, Black, Asian American, and other minority groups. Yet the redistricting process is allegedly attempting to dilute the power of their votes. As the redistricting process continues nationally, voting rights groups are hoping that minorities will gain more from voting accessibility. However, as is the case with Texas, Republicans hold more control over the redistricting process nationally because of the number of states in which they hold legislative power. This has some Democrats anxious about the prospects of the 2022 midterms. Now let's go to a reporter for the week, Sydney Schmidt, to learn more about Biden's Democracy Summit.
Thanks, Emmanuelle. Biden's Democracy Summit has been criticized for its decisions to extend invitations to certain countries while excluding others. The 2-day virtual conference will be held December 9th and 10th and includes about 110 countries in addition to civil society leaders. The purpose of the summit, according to the State Department, is to create a conversation around global democratic renewal. Many, however, have claimed that the summit's invite list arbitrarily divides the globe into good guys and bad guys. Some of the strongest criticisms came from China and Russia, whose ambassadors to the U.S. published a joint article calling the summit anti-democratic. In the piece, the ambassadors incorrectly claimed their governments were democracies too. The assertions clearly contrast with China and Russia's rankings on most measures of human rights and democracy, such as their Freedom House scores. Nevertheless, the United States did invite countries such as Pakistan, which has over a dozen serious human rights violations, including extrajudicial killings, the forced disappearances of politicians, and extreme restrictions of religious freedom. While the White House has not clearly stated its criteria for choosing which countries attend, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki maintained that an invitation to the summit does not act as an approval of the country's approach to democracy. Whatever the reasoning behind the Biden administration's invitations, the summit represents the president's continued promise to renew democracy nationally and globally. Back to you, Emmanuelle.
Thank you, Sydney. CNN's Chris Cuomo has come under fire in the past 6 months because he helped his brother, former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, during his sexual harassment allegations. Chris Cuomo provided counsel to his brother during conference calls in the spring of 2021. Providing help to a politician while being an on-air political anchor is a violation of CNN's ethical principles. Back in May, Chris Cuomo apologized and CNN said that he would not be disciplined. However, on December 1st, CNN announced that it was suspending Chris Cuomo indefinitely. This decision came months after the news anchor had gone back on the air. The suspension is in light of a release of new transcripts and documents that showed that Chris Cuomo was more involved in his brother's defense than was previously thought. An additional investigation conducted even cited a potential sexual harassment allegation against Chris Cuomo himself. The suspension was seen by some as only delaying the inevitable. And on December 4th, Chris Cuomo was officially fired by the network. On December 5th, longtime Republican Senator Bob Dole passed away at 98 years old. His career in Washington spanned decades. While previously working with President Nixon as Republican chairman, in 1976 he was chosen as the vice presidential candidate in President Gerald Ford's re-election campaign. From 1985 to 1996, he was the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, and in 1996 he earned the Republican nomination for president. His political achievements were many, and yet he will also be remembered as the boy from north central Kansas who survived a poverty-filled childhood to become a World War II hero. On Thursday, as he lay in state in the U.S. Capitol, President Biden described Dole as a man of, quote, wit and grace, of principle and persistence, of courage and conviction. What is clear is that Senator Bob Dole will serve as an example for lawmakers for many years to come. I'm Emmanuelle Dyer-Melhado. See you next semester.